Good afternoon, Packers fans. Aaron Nagler here with your Packers Daily Chat, coming to you live on the Cheesehead TV social channels. It is Tuesday, and we have heard from one Mr. Matt LaFleur, the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, speaking earlier this morning-ish there in Arizona at the NFC Coaches Breakfast, talking into microphones and basically punting on most questions regarding Aaron Rodgers, but talking about Jordan Love, talking about a few other subjects, including Rasul Douglas, most likely just manning the outside corner position and not playing inside as he started last season, which I think is a good development. No real thoughts about moving him to safety. I know that's been talked about a lot outside the building. Apparently there hasn't been a whole lot of discussion about that inside the building. A few other nuggets that I'm sure we'll dive into during your questions, but overall, it was not unexpected to have Matt kind of put a wall up when it came to questions about Aaron Rodgers. He did say, nothing but love and gratitude, and acknowledge the fact that Aaron has meant a lot to him and to a lot of people inside the building and in the organization, and has given them a lot. I thought that was apt of Matt to talk about. But again, not a surprise, really, given everything we heard from Goody the day before and all the kind of conversation around the Aaron Rodgers situation. Not surprised to see Matt say what he said. Hello to everybody in the comments section. Hope you're all doing well. Gary's here, of course, always ready to go. Brandy's here. Brandy with a meh right out of the gate. I love it. Mimsy, thanks for Super Chat. Thoughts on Goot being non-committal to Love's fifth-year option? I think he's just everybody likes to wait as long as possible, especially in Green Bay, and Brian's no different. He said the same thing about Rashawn and Savage, and he ended up picking up both of those kind of shortly after he was asked about it. I won't be surprised if they take it right down to the wire, though, just because it is the quarterback position, and who knows what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers, although I suspect we'll get something done before the draft, which obviously is before the May 1st deadline. But yeah, not too surprising. You're going to keep your options open. You're going to play the politics, so to speak. I mean, hell, if you want to get down and really parse it, he didn't even want to commit and or talk about the fact that Jordan Love is going to be the starter next year. He said it was trending that way, which I find hysterical. But yes, he's keeping his options open, and as he should. That's literally his job. So, like I said, didn't think it was anything too surprising there. Len says, Love should on paper have a better defense than Rodgers had when he became a starter. Yeah, I think that's probably fair, especially when it comes to the talent level. I think you're onto something there. Now we'll see if Joe Barry's crew can produce. It'd be nice. They certainly can't start much worse than they did last season. Abdul, thanks for the Super Chat. Hey, Aaron, what's more likely, we get to the NFC Championship or finish last in the division? Nobody wants to hear it, but probably last in the division, if those are the two. I don't think that's going to happen, but getting to the NFC Championship game this year is going to be awfully tough. Awfully, awfully tough. How are we looking at long snapper? Drew, there's going to be a competition. Brian Gutekunst loves his long snapper competitions, no doubt about it. Do you believe any of the rumors about 12 bailing on game plan meetings with LaFleur? Justin, I did see, I forget the name of the radio personality who brought it up. I have not heard that. I have certainly heard things throughout the years regarding Rodgers and the team and coaching staffs and what have you, but I have not heard that. That's not to say it didn't happen. And for those of you who maybe didn't hear the hit, the rumor / story was that Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers had what I guess are special or outside the norm game plan sessions where Rodgers would sometimes show up and then sometimes not show up and not tell Matt LaFleur that he was not coming and leave LaFleur hanging. And these were designed meetings apparently to give Rodgers more input into the game plan every week. It's that time of a process when Aaron Rodgers is heading out the door that I think you'll hear a lot of negative stuff about Aaron. And much like I say when Aaron is in front of a microphone and giving his side of events and version of things, this is what I said after the McAfee thing, I would take any negative stories about Aaron with a grain of salt. I'm sure there's probably some rumblings of truth among all of or most of them, but I think a lot of that most likely has been embellished a little bit. But I think, again, this is what happens when a guy heads out, especially with 18 years worth of history. I think you'll find a story or two being drudged up. Um, but yeah, I mean, I did hear it. And again, I haven't heard that at all from anybody inside the building, but I think you'll hear a few more stories of that type over the next months or so. Excuse me. Abdul, thanks for the super chat. Aaron, do you really believe 12 ghosted Brian Gutekunst? Yes, I do. Very much so. And I don't think it was anything nefarious. I think that's how Aaron is. This is not a new development when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. You can talk to even his closest friends can't get him to return phone calls or texts. So now, whether it was deliberate because it was Brian Gutekunst in the Packers and he was being purposeful about it, I can't tell you. But it doesn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form because that's how he's operated through much of his recent adult life. You talk to anybody, and people have made fun of it. Look, I think Lazard was on Twitter a couple years ago talking about it. I think I think Dave Bakhtiari has mentioned it in the past. So, yeah, do I think that Brian couldn't get a hold of him? Yeah, and I don't think that should be surprising to anybody. What else we got here, folks? What else we got? 15 is still the GOAT. You darn right about that. Did Aaron tell Goot to lose his number? I don't believe that was the communication. I believe there was no communication. I found it interesting, though, that Brian said that eventually, when the communication did happen, it came from Rodgers' reps that he wanted to be traded to the Jets. I mean, it still wasn't from Aaron directly. The man who spoke into a microphone about loving direct communication. That's adorable. Give me a break. Aaron, do you think there's a chance A-Rod will stay with the Packers one more year and retire? A chance? I want to say no, but I'll put the chance at 0.0000000000000000000000000000001%. I mean, never say never, right? Never tell me the odds, but I think it would take events of cataclysmic proportions for that to occur. Vex, did I miss you, buddy? I would never miss you, Vex. How could I miss you? I'm dying in draft industrial complex land, Nags. Who is the Packers' best defensive coordinator since '94? Since '94? This is a trick question. Isn't it Fritz Shermer? Is this in dispute? I'm confused by that question. Mimsy, what's up? Thanks for the super chat. This trade is holding up the Cheesehead TV Draft Guide mock. Man, and a million other mocks. Tell me about it. I think we're okay, though. I think, if I remember right, isn't it just a first-round mock, or maybe is it 2 or 3 rounds? Because then it could probably get tricky. But if it's just a first-round mock, I wouldn't expect the first-round pick at this point. So I think you're good. Jason, thanks for the super chat. Why don't you think we can make it to the NFC Championship game? See, I knew this was coming. I didn't say they couldn't. I just said which was more likely. Listen, people. Our team is talented, and Jordan could be a great game manager just like Aaron in 2019, and the NFC is way down this year and wide open. Yes. It's also entirely possible that a number of the same issues they had last year, starting slow on defense, guys not playing up to their potential, injuries occurring, a million other things could happen. I'm not saying they can't. I'm just saying of the two, one is more likely. Yes, could they make a run to the NFC Championship game? Absolutely. I'm not dismissing it. But of those two scenarios, one is more likely than the other. So 10%, right. Who is the Packers' best DE coordinator in the 80s? Oh, defensive coordinator in the 80s. Oh, man, Bernie. That's hard. It's hard, man. That's hard. From 0 to 100%, how ready do you think Jordan Love is ready to be the starter? 100%. He's ready to be the starter. He's ready to take over. He's ready to helm the ship. He's got to play, as Brian has said, and I've been saying for a while now. He is ready to play. All the development that he could be doing on the bench has been done. He is ready to play. He is ready to be the starter. Now, does that mean he's not going to make mistakes? Does that mean it's not going to be tough sometimes? No, of course not. But he is 100% ready for this opportunity, ready to go. No doubt. John, Nags is such a hater. Such a hater. Mason Crosby sticking around. Jake is not trending that way, to use the parlance of the times. Brian was asked about that pretty point blank today, and he made it. He definitely steered it towards the idea that they can't afford Mason. So I would suspect they're probably going to try and go somewhat cheaper / younger, but who knows? Got those Robbie Gould. Those rumors are out there. Anything's possible. Abdul, thanks for the super chat. If Packers don't get what they want in a trade, any chance they just keep him, or will they just take what they can get? That's tricky. I don't think they'll just take what they can get. I think they'll get a deal that they deem worthy of Aaron Rodgers and his capabilities, and that may not line up with what the fan base wants, but I don't think they're just going to, quote, take what they can get. As far as just keep him, they're not going to just keep him. Aaron Rodgers has played his last down as a Green Bay Packer. I get a lot of people. I got Richard here. I got a couple other people. What if they just don't trade Rodgers? Guys, ask that question in like August. Like now, they're going to trade Aaron Rodgers. M, thanks to the super chat. What's adequate compensation for 12? 2 second rounds? I know the Yahoo report is out there talking about second round picks and conditional picks. I still think the 13th overall pick should be in play, but I understand the Jets are probably really loath to give that one up. I would suspect probably a second round pick this year and then a third round pick that can increase depending on Rodgers' participation and or how far the Jets go, his return in 2024, things of that nature that could go up to a first round pick. I think that's probably more likely. But I don't think the deal is done until the deal is done. And until it's done, the 13th overall this season is still in play. What else we got? Jonathan, what's up, man? Is it crazy to have higher expectations for DeGuara this year? Seems like he and Love have a better rapport than he and 12. I don't think it's crazy. I just don't think he's ever going to be like the main kind of target on most passing downs, on most passing situations and or plays. That's not to say he won't see his fair share of targets, that they won't increase. But there's been nothing to indicate that this offense is ever going to run through a move tight end. Now, that said, could he potentially see more targets because Love is back there? Yeah, I don't dismiss that idea out of hand, but I just doubt that they'll be drawing up plays for DeGuara anytime soon. That was my guess. And that's not to say he can't handle it or that he's not talented or any of that, but it just hasn't been utilized that way. Now, of course, they are in a very transitional phase, and they're going to have to find targets someplace, right? Now, I think a lot of it's going to depend on what happens in the draft, and you definitely saw Goody yesterday talk about the depth at the tight end spot in this draft class, and also mentioned how that definitely lines up with their needs. I'm going to be absolutely shocked if they come out of this draft without a tight end. Now, where is that selection going to be made? I don't know. Probably day 2 would be my guess, but I think whoever that ends up being, if it's one or even more, maybe 2 guys at the tight end spot who come in, get into that mix, I think you'll see them force-fed a little bit. And I think you'll see, as has been kind of the case under Matt LaFleur, the spreading around of the ball at the tight end spot. Abdul, thanks again, buddy. I was rewatching highlights and reminiscing. Other than 2014, which Packers team were you most disappointed in not winning the Super Bowl? Everybody always talking about the disappointments. Other than 2014, which is obviously the tough one. Man, probably 2020. You're on the doorstep. You're in the red zone there, and you're inside the 8-yard line. You can't punch it in, and then you're not in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, probably 2020. That one was tough. Sir Alex, thanks for the super chat. Greatest Packers GM at this point? My heart will always be Wolf, but Ted was something else when it came to drafting good players who could develop. I mean, you got to go with Vince Lombardi, right? Now, Vinisi obviously was the talent kind of coordinator and or had the eye for talent and provided Vince with a lot of the bedrock and the kind of formation of his '60s championship teams. So he gets a nod. But as far as wheeling and dealing and knowing when to move guys and form great teams, I mean, you got to give it to Vince, right? In my lifetime, I give it to Ron. Ron Wolf was a madman when it came to not only making the insane trade for Brett Favre, which obviously was absolutely incredible. Imagine that trade going down today. Twitter would burn to the ground. Packers Twitter would be unwatchable. I mean, it's barely watchable now, but could you imagine if the Packers announced they were trading for the third string quarterback of a team and they were giving up a first round pick to do it? Man, people would go berserk. But yeah, not only that, but this Ron's constant churning of the roster and always looking for new talent and completely um, overhauling positions and bringing in guys through every single week and kind of churning through that bottom of the roster consistently and being unafraid to make big swings. And, yeah, I mean, he made mistakes like every other GM, but to me, Ron's the best. I mean, I love Ted. I think Ted could cut off his nose to spite his face on occasion, but it's not anything away from Ted. I absolutely love the man, but I definitely give it to Ron in my lifetime. Vex, thanks to the super chat. Pay him $16 million to ride the bench. Guys, that's not going to happen. Stop living in La La Land. Mimsy, thanks for the super chat. Dying to see what Goot thought Love was worth trading up for. One has to wonder if he would have been there on day 2. I'm optimistic. Turn the page. What Goot thought Love was worth trading up for. One has to wonder if he would have been there on day 2. You mean if Jordan Love was going to be there on day 2? I don't think so. I know the Colts have tried to push back on this idea, but I'm pretty sure the Colts would have taken him. But hey, maybe. But look, Gutekunst gave up what, a 4th-round pick to move up the spots necessary to grab Jordan Love? It's a whole hell of a lot better than what the 49ers gave up for a dude who's played, what, half a game? You never know in this. You never know in this crazy world of the NFL. Sorry, guys. Jason, thanks for the super chat. Do you think we get the tight end from Georgia, number 0? I'm blanking on the name. Washington. But I think he could be Christian Watson from the standpoint of being a very valuable playmaker. He looks like the Hulk. Yeah, I'm all for drafting him. I'll be shocked if the Packers take him at 15, just because positional value and their tradition of really trying to stick with what they consider the premium positions. Now, they went outside that a little bit last year with the drafting of Quay Walker. But yeah, I'd love him in a Packers uniform, zero doubt about it. But again, with the depth at that position in this class, I think they'll probably stick with their positional values. Take somebody, say, along the offensive or defensive line, maybe a wide receiver, though I doubt it. Corner, some defensive backfield maybe. But yeah, I love his upside. And here's I know Mark Oldacres wrote about him recently for Cheesehead TV on the website. If you haven't read it, I highly encourage you to do so. But yeah, and there was somebody on the Twitter comments who was like, oh, nothing against the kid, but if, you should watch Michael Mayer and what he did at Notre Dame. And I think the kid's great. And I think, yes, Michael Mayer is a really good prospect and is going to play exceptionally well. And I don't discount like anything that kid brings to the table and what he did at Notre Dame. But the draft is about upside and in about projecting not only how the prospect is going to fill out his frame and things of that nature physically, but also the fit within the scheme and the system and the teammates and what the coaching staff does and blah, blah, blah. I just think there's so much untapped potential there in Washington versus Mayer. That's where, with Mayer, you see how good he is. And there's zero doubt he's probably going to be pretty damn good in the NFL as well. But, if you're the Green Bay Packers and you have a tradition of looking at these guys as, outstanding athletes and hope for the growth there, and guys who probably, have a lot more to do as far as development goes, and you get a first-round pick, that's 5 years of control, I would suspect that would probably be the play. But who knows? We say all this and they'll take Kincaid. You never really know with the Packers. John, thanks for the super chat. Do other teams value RAS like Green Bay does? Well, you got to remember, Green Bay doesn't necessarily utilize RAS. They have all their own athletic threshold testing, what have you. But they certainly stick inside those parameters a little bit more than most teams. Of that, there's zero doubt. Young Feezy, what's up? Thanks for the super chat. Do you think center is a real option in the second or third with the current needs? I don't, only because, I mean, could they? Sure. But I think now Brian has kind of put it on the table when he talked about at the combine Zach Tom's position coming out of college. He thought his best position was center. You know, I wish someone would have asked Matt today if there'd be some kind of competition this summer, but I think there will be. You know, I think Tom will most likely have the opportunity to compete for the center spot. But we'll see. We'll see. What else we got here, folks? What else we got? We got Jovan Wallace. What's up, man? Hey, Nags. Was watching a kid on YouTube, Salvatore. He put together a cut of all J-Love's snaps from his rookie year to now. You can see the difference in his mechanics and footworks. I am excited. Go, Pack, go. Yeah, he has certainly come a long way. The thing that's so exciting about Jordan Love is how he has improved every time he stepped on the football field. And I know Matt gave Tom Clements a shout out today for good reason. You can certainly see the improvement each and every year from Jordan, but it's certainly apparent, you know, the effect that Tom has had on the kid in his short time so far. Hopefully that continues. And to your point, yeah, I think the mechanics, you see how elongated his release was his rookie year, and it's still a bit longer than you probably like, but it's worlds better than it was when he was coming out of college. So, and I'm glad you brought up Jordan because it's really easy, I think, in the current media landscape with all the headlines and everything that gets talked about regarding Aaron Rodgers to lose sight of the fact that, you know, none of this is happening if the Packers aren't sold on Jordan. And yes, I know Matt, you know, said kind of an offhanded comment that, of course, got blown up by Twitter. But, like, yeah, you got to temper expectations a little bit. It's a first-year starter. Like, I understand he's not going to come in and be a 3-time, 4-time MVP. Like, no one, I think, of sound mind and body is expecting that. But you do get excited about the fact that the Packers aren't making this move. They're not turning the page unless they're really sold on Jordan Love and the fact that he is ready to start and he is ready to play. I don't think fans should lose sight of that. You know, and again, I understand it's good. There are going to be growing pains. There's no doubt about it. But I, for one, am extremely excited, and I'm really excited that the organization has finally come to that realization. Because I know you guys, if you've been on this channel for a while, you know last year I was very much of the mind that it was time to trade Aaron, and they had done what they were going to do, and blah, 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 and then they signed him to the extension. And, you know, I understand it's real easy on this side of things to say, oh, you got to trade him. But in reality, if you're the GM or you're the organization, to trade the back-to-back MVP, guys won it 4 times, that's really, really difficult, especially if you're not quite sold on Jordan yet. So the fact that we're here a year later and they are clearly sold on Jordan and his ability and how the fact that he is ready to play, you love to see it. You do absolutely love to see it. Joe, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. Ever have Packers actually draft a guy you really, really wanted and then turned out badly? Jarrell Worthy for me. No, because anybody who's watched me for any amount of time knows if I love a guy in the draft, it's guaranteed they're not going to draft him. It's just my fate in life, man. It's just how I roll. Abdul, thanks again, man. Hey, Aaron, which first-round pick was more disappointing in order of most to least? Justin Harrell, Dayton Jones, Clinton Dix, Derek Sherrod, or Demarius Randall? Well, it's definitely Justin Harrell at number 1. There's no doubt about it. I mean, just mountains of disappointment there. Then I would probably go. That's tough. Demarius Randall. Then, I mean, Derek Sherrod, it's kind of unfair because he hurt himself in that Kansas City game. But then Clinton Dix and Dayton Jones. Here's the thing about Dayton that people forget. When he was not brought back, his final year in Green Bay, he hit the quarterback more than anybody else on the team. You know, I think Dayton gets short shrift because he was a bit of a tweener, and the Packers took him not really having a plan for how they wanted to utilize him inside the defense that they were running. And I do think he got caught between a number of different factions. And I'm not saying he was an all-world player or anything like that, but I think he was better than most fans give him credit for. Uncultured, thanks for the super chat. I'd love to see them pick a player on offense at 15, but I'm getting ready for Goot to pick yet another defensive player in the first round. Yeah, man, I'm not sitting here telling you not to expect it because they're the Packers, right? They pick defensive players in the first round, and then Aaron's here years later on Super Chats being asked about who's the most disappointing. This is kind of how we roll in Green Bay. Nicholas, thanks for the Super Chat. I'm afraid Rodgers will say Goot knew about the retreat, but called him a bunch of times during that period to use this as an excuse to move on. Cool, man. I don't care. At this point, Aaron Rodgers can say whatever he wants. I don't care. I just don't care. I'm done. The page is turned. Both sides are kind of playing that game, though, because it's like, it's not just Aaron. They're both kind of playing the whole idea of, we don't want to be the bad guy in this scenario, right? We don't want to be the reason that this is ending. But they're both kind of ready to move on. I mean, that's pretty apparent. Young Feezy, what's up? Jason Johnson and Paris Johnson are there at 15. Who is the pick? Hyatt, I kid, sort of. Man, if they take Hyatt, I will laugh my ass off. But Paris Johnson for me. But who knows for the Packers? Anything's possible. All right, everybody. I got to get going. I can't thank you enough for hanging out, talking Packers each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Cheesehead TV social channels. Please do me a monster favor. Hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell your friends and tell your family. Cheesehead TV, we are devoted to Green Bay Packers fans worldwide. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day. Go Pack, go.